Hey guys, it's me again. I'm coming on today, just as an update for what's been going on in my life. And since that all occurred last week, I've been doing a lot of thinking about the topic I'm going to talk about today. Because obviously, as we are all coming or we're going through our trials and we're going through our life, and we're just realizing, like, what's going on? How does this all work? And yes, I'm not going to say I'm at the forefront of understanding this, but at least when I do tap in and when I do get information and downloads, I want to share it. I want to tell people what I'm getting so that maybe if you're like pondering the same things, maybe you'll understand what I'm saying and this will help. But also at the same time, it's like as I'm going through this life myself, I'm trying to do as best as I can to describe what I'm seeing, experiencing, and going through. So, as our last video, just I told you that I had the cops come here, and basically, I still haven't found out anything. I just got a letter from the pound saying that his car got impounded, but that's all I know. So I haven't really heard much, and that kind of like thwarted me because I was like, am I seeing things the same way as everyone else is seeing things? Because a lot of this is leaving me like with big question marks, and I'm like, it started making me think about the topic, which today is going to be about timelines. Sorry, timelines with an S. And my board. I got my board again. And octaves of programming. If maybe I'm gonna throw some people off with this, but I'm gonna give it a try because this is what I've thought about my for a very, very long time. Okay, so from what I know, connecting with my hires, connecting with source, connecting with different avatars through my channeling experience, I've noticed even from like when I was really young was this idea is that I myself and or every other human on this planet has created their own story in a sense, like if I think about like here's your life, right? And then this is A and then this is B, which is like death, right? Or whatever form of death you go through. It could be a transformation too. Maybe you ascend and you physically ascend like JC did. I don't know. I didn't write your story. Everyone that we interact with, be it through like your everyday day to day, some of them have been in past lives with you. Some of them decided to be in your story, co-creating in your story. And also at the same time, too, it's like there's certain pitfalls and decisions and things that you make within your life that kind of put you on different tracks. And that's what I wanted to talk about with timelines because a lot of people, like I've been dabbling in this for some time because it's always been kind of confusing to me. But as I keep going and trying to ask questions, this seems to be what I've gathered. If you see this, what I have back here, here's a jump off point, right? Here is you coming into utero, right? Through the process of birth, already having a story mapped out, like a blueprint already mapped out. And in this blueprint, to what I believe are 8 different octaves, let's say, of where you can fall on your timeline. Okay. So let's say, for example, you come off right on the hop and you're just at like the third, let's just use the third octave, okay, which would be like do, re, mi. You're on the mi octave. You decide to go through your life and you see how I have this here, I have this here. These are what I try to say, like some could be what we call or what we would call like exit points. So what I'll do with an exit point is I'll put like blocks. But what I think an exit point is that I believe in our lifetimes, depending on which timeline you're on, you do have times where you will die, like, or even get close to death or near death. So I call those exit points. Like, let's say, for example, you're a soul that has learned everything you want to learn on the third octave, and you've put it in your blueprint, so to speak, on your timeline that you're going to get to this point. And once you get there, it's kind of like you either go to the other side, reassess if you want to come back and continue on the timeline or have a chance at jumping to another. Or if you just want to tap out at that time and like that's it, that's your existence. Should you come back in, then you might have some more questions, and when I mean questions, it's like those forks in the road situations. That's what those little markers are. So let's say you're on the third, right? And you're going through your life, you're going through your life, you're going through your life, and you get to one of these, Fork in the road. What I truly believe is it's a fork in the road. It could go up to 4 or it could go down to 2. Okay, hear me out. So I think at that time, or you could stay streamlined. Maybe you do no decision, right? Like maybe you don't jump off anywhere and you just stay on your same line. But if, let's say, for example, what your choice is actually inhibits you further, you would go down to 2 to make that simple. Like, for example, I'll give you my example, right? With my situation, if you guys would watch my videos. When my ex put me in this third party situation, which I said was similar to another situation I had in the past, I was put in a fork in the road. It's either accept what he's offering me and then become the other woman, or I decide, hey man, I'm a do me and I'm a get out, right? So that put me up over here to 4 because I didn't decide to go down and be a third party. So I decided to go up, right? Then there was this third other path, which is like, oh, I'll work it out with him some way and go through some muddled. And I went through this part for a while. Even though I was trying to get here, I was still going through this for a while because I didn't know how to really get to this one. I knew that this is what the result would be if I made the jump. So this, I would say, happened where the jump came, where I met up with my 4, was when I finally cut my ex off completely. I didn't go down because I didn't agree with him, but I didn't go up fully because I didn't cut him off. So I stayed on the 3 until I rose to the 4, if that makes any sense. So I feel like with those pivotal marker decisions in your life, it could even be like, oh, what school you're deciding on. Do you decide to go to your first choice or your second choice? Or do you decide not to go to school? That's kind of the same type of thing. If you don't decide to go to school, you stay on the 3rd. If you decide to go to the one that has more possibilities, you might jump to the 4. If you go to the city school that your mom wants you to go to and it's not really going to bring you much, you might go down to the 2. It's just to give you an example. So I truly feel that human beings, all walks of faith, whatever the case may be, we are on a timeline from the minute that we are born. And how we rise and go down, I've always seen it kind of similar to snakes and ladders. I don't know if you guys remember that game that we all played as children, where it's like, oh, like you could follow a ladder up here, right? And then you go farther down the path and then you'll hit a snake and it brings you back down. I kind of see like these marker points, like I'm describing, as those ladders and or snakes in your lifetime. So for some of us that are ascending, let's say, and I don't want to say that this is a dimension, like this is not 3D. I believe 3D encompasses all of these. Okay, all of these paths, I believe, are in 3D. So what I'm trying to say is that I believe there are octaves within a dimension. Okay, so what I'm saying is that in order to break through from 3D, you want to put it to 4D, I feel like you got to go through all these octaves in order to reach. You got to jump. You got to jump your timelines in order to get to the next dimension and or the next following dimension after that. So that's what brought me to this do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do thing. And it's kind of funny if you look at it, do is also at the highest octave. So there might be something, I'm still figuring that part out, is like, is it because do is the jump off point that you'll always end up back at do? I don't know, but a higher elevated do? Because if you do the thing, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, you're up higher, but you're still at do. You know what I mean? So I'm still trying to figure that part out. But what I'm trying to say is like these timeline things are very important because at least for me, like I said, with my situation, I feel like I jumped up to a next level. And then I feel like as I go through this process, like doing YouTube, trying to figure out the TikTok thing, trying to figure out the Instagram thing, telling people more and more who I am, what I'm doing, it basically will bring me eventually, since let's say I'm on the fourth octave, I'm going to call it an octave. Right now, I'm leading up to another apex point, right? And again, if I decide to go forward, I can go back down to the 3rd again, or I can stay where I am, or I can jump up to the next timeline. And I think that's how this works. Because truly, and that seems to be what I'm getting because I've been asking, it's weird to say because at the same time, sound is so important. And this brings me to what I'm trying to say, because even when it comes to matter, okay, if you want to look at it this way, like music is inspirational. Music's what, like, look, I got music on in the background. We can all communicate with music. These ideas of like how our frequency is kind of dictative based on sound as well. I've always felt like, even the chiming of the ears, even everything has to do with the frequency, with sound. So I always felt like we are within a density and what I call it is an octave of program. Okay. Because you'll notice that if you're in a lower density, or sorry, not density, I'm saying a lower octave timeline, you will be hitting markers of fears and different apex moments that are different than you would when you're on a fourth octave existence. The situational scenario will be the same, but of a different caliber. So I feel like the more you jump in your own timelines to get to the higher octave, the closer you will be reaching to the next dimension. So I hope that makes some sense, because I truly am trying to figure out how sound does this all. Because I've always felt like somebody down here will see totally different, sometimes I always see it as like people that are in lower timelines, they get bombarded with things like not speaking out for themselves. They're constantly, like, I would say the people that still wear masks, even though COVID's dissipated, they live in an octave programming that is different than someone who's not wearing a mask. Let's just keep it as simple as that. So the way that masked person sees the world is in fear of disability, fear of attaining this. I'm not saying all people that wear masks, that's their reason, but I'm trying to give an example. It's like that person sees a totally different world than the non-masked person. Because the non-masked person is not in those fear sets, in those octave program fear sets, but the person beside them in the mask is in that fear, what I call a fear set octave program. And I feel like as you release more fears, the higher in octave timeline you will go. And as you jump those timelines, and I believe that you do actually raise at those pivotal questioning points of your life, because it's like, oh, you got rid of this fear set. Now you're on this timeline. Once you get to that apex point, if you pass that test in a sense, then you get to go up. If you don't, then you go back down to that octave program where it's like that tune that like, let's say you're at me, you stay at that me programming with those fear sets. So I feel like there's something to do with like how sound incorporates a program, like a matrix programming that you have to break out of to get to the next timeline or a higher timeline, which was all set out before you were born. So you could do any of these and get to the end of the yellow brick road here, like I said, any way up the mountain, but at the same time, it's like, will you be jumping? You're still going to end up over here at the final, right? And the final could come wherever these boxes lie. Like, don't get me wrong, but you're still going to end up at the final. You know what I mean? Maybe you decide to tap out here or tap out there, but you're still at the final. So I'm saying that this will be a course of a life that you can jump these timelines. That's what I believe. And I think that if you can do it, it's kind of like an acceleration for your soul. And it's an acceleration into the octave program that you are based in. And I think that has a lot to do with manifestation. I think it has a lot to do with developing the world around you and bringing forth energies that will help raise the planet. And I think that's what they mean by raising. The more of us that we jump our timelines, the higher we go within our own density, meaning 3D, the more we will raise the vibration, sound again, and raise it so that we all go to the next dimension together as a kumbaya situation. So that's kind of what I think is going on, at least from what I can understand about timelines. Now, the dimensional thing, like I said over here with 3D to 4D, with all these different octaves, right? In between these timelines, right? The way I see it, and I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to put it in the best way I know how. For almost most of my life, I've always felt like the pyramids were lifted from sound, but not in the way that people think, not in the way as a dense product. And I started thinking about that because of Big Bang Theory. I don't know if you guys watch Big Bang Theory, but there was this episode where like where Raj and Leonard, they had put like a bunch of goo in a plastic wrap, and they put the goo on top of a speaker. and they started playing the speaker at a certain vibration, and the goo came from goo to solid. Okay. And it was just bouncing around as a solid item because of the vibration that it was at. So I wonder to myself, perhaps if, sorry, my dog's barking upstairs. I'm trying to do this, but hey. I wonder if perhaps, like I've always wondered, if the pyramids was started as clay, like wet clay, and then were posted or like given a vibration so that they solidified in the shape they needed to, even let's say with a box of some sort to maintain the shape. And then as it dried, it fell out of that vibration, but it was solid in an instance because it had been dried by the sun. But it was held in its shape and form by sound, and it would actually just baked using sound to keep it in that material form from being like a liquid. So I always wondered that, but I think like there's some acoustic archaeologists that are working on that, but that's my theory. I always thought that they didn't have to do the heavy lifting if they started with a wet product. So the reason why I'm saying that density is different than it is with just sound, it's like you need the matter as well to be a part of it. And in this case, I feel like we're the molded clay. We're the clay that can be molded into the next density, meaning like we can become a brick, like from jumping all these timelines and getting to that barrier of a density, we will then become another formation of who we are as a matter or material being. We may, crystalline turn into a different formation of self through jumping timelines, which I do believe are musically slash frequency energetic based. And as we do that, we break the programming to the point that we get to the fourth dimension, where in which we change our formation of our matter, which is our bodies. So I got all this. You got to understand, like all of this came because of all the postulation I've been doing with my situation. This is how my brain works. I'm always dissecting the universe. Like that is truly what I'm doing, given what I download and what comes to me. I do talk to Mother God and Father God all the time, but this is actually like me doing my own investigation and trying to break it down for myself. So I hope this helps. If you do like what I'm saying, if you do have questions about what I'm talking about, if you do feel like you're going through the same thing or understand what I'm saying, feel free to message me, subscribe to me, add me. I don't care. Like, I'm just trying to get the word out. Like, this might be what we're trying to do with these timelines so that we can progress. Because in a weird way, like, since I've come on, I feel like I've been jumping these freaking timelines like, when somebody's in a race and like everyone shot off, like I just didn't hear the gun go off. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like I'm trying to catch up to everyone else who's already done these timeline jumps. And I'm trying to do the fastest timeline jumps I can to catch up to my soul tribe. And I feel like that's what I'm in. So if you feel like you're in that, maybe this can help. So that's it. I love you all and all the best, like usual. I love you. Bye.